Welcome to the DumpTek training video for drivers. Today, we will be demonstrating how simple it is to use the DumpTek app to complete a digital haul sheet. To make this as easy to follow as possible, we will show the step-by-step display of the mobile app, and we will also see the progress on our haul sheet for our reference. This haul sheet is normally not visible as it is generated by your office staff after you submit the ticket. Today, we are getting a preview so we can see what effects our inputs will have on the final result. The first step is making sure we are logged in. The account administrator should have given you your username and password. For reference, we are using version 0.42 in this demonstration. Once you are logged in, you should see a screen similar to this. Mine says no tickets in progress. If you were previously working on a haul sheet and did not submit it yet, it would show up here. Now to start a new haul sheet, we will click the Add button on the top right of the screen. It will take us to a screen titled Select Ticket Type. Then we are going to click on the Haul Sheet button. Notice how our name and date are on the haul sheet now. DumpTek automatically fills in known information so you don't have to. Now we can see on this screen, we have 4 fields that we can fill in. There is also a red asterisk next to some of the field names. That indicates if a field is required to continue on to the next step. To fill in a field, click inside the field and a list of available selections will appear. This list is created by the office staff. Notice the search bar at the top of the screen? If our list is long, we can use that to search for the project we will be working on. Now that I selected the project, we can see on the haul sheet that some more information has been filled out for us. The project was tied to the customer name, as well as the load and dump sites. Let's put in the truck I'm driving. In most cases, this would be a list of truck numbers. If your company has a large fleet, the search function might come in handy again. You can observe how the button in the bottom right hand titled Pre-Trip went from gray to white. The change in color indicates that we are now able to move forward to the next screen. This is because all fields that had a red asterisk are populated. There is no asterisk next to trailer, so we know the app does not require that we select a trailer, but it may be best to check with your manager to find out if they require that field or not. Okay, so let's select pre-trip to move on to the next step. So here is our pre-trip page, and right off the bat, we are being asked if a pre-trip is required. In some cases, if this is the second haul sheet of the day, you may not need a pre-trip. For us, we are just getting started and we need to check out our truck. When I select yes, a new field presents itself called Start Pre-Trip. This is going to be my first time input of the day. I'll click the clock icon to bring up the time selection menu. The time selection menu might look a little different for you, depending on what type of phone or tablet you are using, but all of them should automatically have the current time from your device listed. We won't be changing the time here, and we don't suggest manually changing the time unless absolutely necessary. Now when we select OK, the time has populated the Start Pre-Check field. Awesome. Now I'm going to put my device down and do my 15-minute pre-trip inspection. Be right back. During my pre-trip, I'll log the odometer reading. The field for pre-trip odometer is a numeral input field, so our numeric keyboard shows up as soon as we select inside the field so that we can type in our odometer reading. Okay, my truck looks good and ready for the road. Time to leave the yard where we are currently parked. On DumpTek, I'm going to select the Leave Yard field. The clock is here again, and I'll click OK to log my time. For safety reasons, I'm only going to use DumpTek when my truck is parked, just like how I would when using a pen and clipboard with paper tickets. With my time entered, I'm ready to drive to the load site. To get to the next screen, I'll click in the lower right-hand corner on the Loads button. This screen allows us to add our loads as we go back and forth from the load and dump sites. To get started, I'm going to select the Add Load button. Notice the familiar clock icons next to the fields titled Arrive Load Site, Leave Load Site, Arrive Dump Site, and Leave Dump Site. I'm simply going to select the clock and press OK as I complete each step. Remember that the clock uses the current time when making the selection, so I will wait until the right moment to log the time. Now that I have finished at the dump site, I'm going to write my tonnage from the scale house by selecting inside of the tons field and using the keyboard to input the weight. After my weight, I'm going to select the material. With the material selected, I'll move to the next field. Now with DumpTek, I can also take a picture to include with the haul sheet. This can be useful if we want to include a scale house ticket from the load or dump site. The next field is for the scale ticket number. This is another numeric input field. The backhaul toggle is a way to notate on the haul sheet if you are bringing material back or not. Typically, you would complete your first load, then as soon as you dump, then start a new load for your backhaul. An example of this may be if you were bringing asphalt to a paver, and then getting loaded with asphalt millings to bring back to the asphalt plant. Your first load would be for the asphalt, and your second load would be for the millings with the backhaul selected. The very last thing to finish this load is to add some notes if needed. Now I'm going to do another load. To do this, I'm going to select the Add Load button at the bottom of the load. After I selected Add Load, I see the empty fields for load 2. I'm going to go through the same process again to complete my second load. I'm going to add loads over and over until I'm done working at this project for the day. The job foreman has informed me that they have everything that they need and we can go home. So now it's time for me to get his signature. To do this, I'll select the Load Summary at the bottom right hand of the screen. If it's required by the foreman, I can show him this summary. It has all of the relevant information he may want to look at and verify. If there are any details about a load he wants to see, we can select the arrow icon next to the load to show the material types and notes. Below the loads, we can see a rough estimate of the total times to make sure everything is in order. You may have noticed that the arrive yard and end post trip are still blank. Those will get populated while we are closing out the ticket. If everything looks good, the foreman can sign for us by clicking the bottom right-hand selection labeled Customer Sign. This will bring up the signature function to be completed. So now that we have a signature, we are going to travel back to the yard to park the truck. The first field is Arrive Yard, and it uses the clock feature again for when I get back to the yard. Now I'm being asked if I need to log a post-trip inspection. For this case, the answer is yes, but I may not need it if I was going to another project and needed to fill out a new haul sheet. Just the same as the pre-trip, when I select yes, I get a new field for complete post-trip using the clock selection. I'll finish this once I'm done checking my truck. Almost done. Now I'm going to input my odometer. And now I'll add a final note about the day. This might include where I parked, how much fuel I have, etc. Let's select Summary in the bottom right to make sure everything is correct before we send it to the office. This view is the same as the summary the foreman saw, but now we have the travel time back to the yard and post-check inspection included. I'm going to take a look at some of the details real quick. It might even be a good idea to take a screenshot of this to keep for my personal records. Looks good. Time to sign. And that's it. Ticket has been submitted. We are all done. Now that was easy, right? And now the office staff has my ticket instantly. We can also go back and view old tickets too if needed. So there we go, we submitted our first haul sheet using DumpTek. Thank you for joining me and I hope you stay safe on the road.